Suppose you wish to manipulate a matrix in some way using arithmetic. The calculator can do some operations for matrices. And let's start out by entering in a matrix of just 1, 2, 3, 4. So we hit the matrix option, which on an 83 plus or an 84 is second reciprocal. We go over to edit, and we go ahead and type in the number of rows, then the number of columns, and then we'll type the entries in here. So we first type in the number of rows, then the number of columns, and now we may begin entering the entries into the matrix. So we'll go ahead and type in 1, and then 2, and when you hit enter, you scroll across in rows for these matrices. If you use the arrows, you can go up or down. Alright, make sure the last entry actually appears in the matrix. If you just type it down here, it will not be put up here until you hit enter. So make sure that you do that before you exit the screen. Now we're going to first find the determinant of this matrix. In order to do that, we have to go back to the home screen, and then we have to go back under the matrix menu. And we'll highlight math, and we'll select the very first option. Now in this case, we can't type in square bracket A square bracket. We must go back to the matrix menu and select the actual name of the matrix in order to use these operations. So we'll go ahead and select matrix A, and then we will determine the determinant. So just remember, you have to call the matrix by name. You can't type in the square brackets and then the name of the matrix. So let's say now we wish to add two matrices together. Well, let's supply a B matrix as -1, 2, and then 4, -5. So we'll go back under matrix, we'll go under edit, and then we'll select matrix B, and we'll type in the number of rows, and then the number of columns, and then we will type in the entries, -1, and then enter, and then 2, and then enter, and then 4, and then -5. So let's return to the home screen and perform the arithmetic. We'll go back to home screen by hitting second in mode, and then we'll simply go back under the matrix menu, select matrix A under names, put a plus, and then matrix B under names. And here we see the sum of the two matrices. Now let's say we want to multiply two matrices together. The calculator can do this. We'll go ahead and call up matrix A, and then we'll do a multiplication symbol, and then we'll call up matrix B. And here we see the product of these two matrices. Let's say we wish to determine the inverse of a matrix. Well, that can be done as well. We'll determine the inverse of matrix A. So we'll call up matrix A under the matrix menu, and then we'll hit the reciprocal key. This will denote inverse, and here we see that we have the inverse of matrix A. If we want to convert these decimal representations to fractions, we can do that by hitting math, and then just the very first command, arrow frac, and it will convert it into a fraction. Let's say you wanted to find the transpose of a matrix. Well, we'll use matrix B this time. We'll call up matrix B, and then we will go ahead and go back under the matrix menu, highlight math, and then select the second option, which is a T, and that stands for transpose. And there is the transpose of our matrix B. Let's say we want to know the dimensions of matrix A. That can be done as well. Go ahead and go back under the matrix menu, go over to Math, and select the DIM command. This stands for dimension. Then we'll go ahead and call up matrix A by name. And we'll close off the command and hit enter. And here we see that we have the number of rows listed first and then the number of columns, and it will represent this as a list. Suppose you wish to build an identity matrix. You need only call the identity command and tell it the number of rows. Identity matrices are square, so the number of rows will equal the number of columns. In order to do this, we go under the matrix menu, we highlight Math, and we select the identity option. And then we type in the number of rows and columns as one number, which is 4. And here we see our 4x4 identity matrix. Let's say we want to build a random matrix with 2 rows and 3 columns. And let's just go ahead and say that these entries will be integer values. So we'll go ahead and go back under matrix, go over to Math, and select rand_m. Which is that option right there. Then we'll fill in the number of rows, and then a comma, and then the number of columns. And here we see our entries. If you want to augment matrices together, you may do so. And we're going to augment matrix A and matrix B together. Now, augmentation is not a commutative operation, so order matters here. So when we augment matrix A with matrix B, we're going to see the first pair of entries in each row match up with matrix A, and the second pair will match up with matrix B. So we'll go under second matrix, select Math, and then scroll down to the augment command. And then we'll go ahead and call the first matrix, matrix A in our case, by name. Then we'll do a comma. Then we'll call up the second matrix by name. And we'll go ahead and close the command off and hit enter. And here we see the two matrices have been augmented together. And this is how you can use the first few commands in the matrix menu on the TI-8384 calculators.